Welcome to the Glassix Spotlight. Today we're excited to have Ricardo Araújo join us. Ricardo is a seasoned tech leader and customer experience strategist with over 20 years of experience enhancing how B2B companies engage with their customers. He's made significant impacts at companies like OutSystem and through his work at Nomad Pro Consulting, where he advises startups and scale ups. Beyond his consulting roles, Ricardo is passionate about using technology to foster better business practices and improve customer interactions. He has been instrumental in integrating AI solutions to streamline and enhance customer experiences across various industries. Ricardo, it's fantastic to have you with us today on the Glassix Spotlight Show.
Hi, Ron. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for the invitation. It's a great honor to participate in this podcast.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So, Ricardo, before we jump into the deep end, is there anything cool you're cooking up these days that you'd like to share with us?
Well, cooking is one part of my life. I love to cook, and I'm a foodie. Actually, I'm an online chef for a known retail brand in Portugal. But what I'm really cooking, and something I always like to share because I think it's part of giving back to the community where I'm from. I'm actually the president of the board administration for the volunteer firefighters. And summer is very intense in Europe with wildfires and forest fires, as you can imagine. So it might not be a cool thing, but it's definitely a must do and give back to community supporting those volunteers.
Oh, wow. I think it's huge. And we already have two things in common. So, I'm a foodie myself. I do have a big background in culinary arts. I actually studied that in Australia back in the days. And I love the fact that you're volunteering. I think it's just satisfying the soul in ways no one can describe. So kudos to you,
Yeah,
Ricardo.
thank
Um,
you.
for our listeners, today's episode called Leading Change in Customer Experience Strategies from Ricardo Araujo. Ricardo, let's get started with our first question. So, with your extensive background in leading change within organizations, how do you integrate AI or other technologies to enhance CX in growing B2B companies? I think it's kind of the $1 million question today.
Yeah, you started with a million one. So let's go through the basics when we're talking about integrating AI and even other technologies in the companies nowadays. Um, Part of it is that you can create a personalized and very efficient and data-driven customer experience, and this will foster loyalty and growth for your business. Sounds like a pre-made answer, right? But the thing is, and I always like to go to the basics because there are still some companies that don't do this. Talking about personalization, I'm thinking of AI and analyzing the customer data and recommend relevant products. Tailor your website content according to the user that is visiting. And it's still some websites lacks this. They find one size fits all approach, so you have the same content regardless who you are, where you're coming from, what you know from the user itself. And what you know is that based on your firmographics visitors, you can make a more relevant experience. So the second part is like enhancing the customer support. With A-powered chatbots, you can actually resolve common inquiries. And let me do a disclaimer here. There's a lot of chatbots that they are dumb. You can put some intelligence working for you, and ensuring that your users will have an answer 24 by 7, even if you don't have a support agent working at that time, and escalate and use the AI chatbots to answer the common inquiries and escalate the complex and especially the sensitive ones for human agents. You know, um, and of course, there's the third line of thoughts on this, which is working with predictive analytics, analyzing past interactions from your customer database and anticipating customer needs. You can be very proactive in offering solutions even before the problems arise. I think Those are the top three. Let me add two more on that $1 million question.
Please, please.
Rethinking, yeah, rethink the CRM. You integrate AI to automate tasks. This is so powerful when you automate millennial jobs and having people focus on the real human to human interaction. It's can improve not just the relation you have with the customers, can also improve your relation with the employees. So it's really, really important. This. And lastly, the fifth one is the data driven. One thing I've been working on for quite long is the sentimental analysis tools that you can have. Analyzing customer feedback. Nowadays, you look a lot for social media, but there's a lot in the customer support emails that you can spot new opportunities. You can spot resistance from users to use your product, and then based on those sentimental analyses, you can actually interact differently and be much more proactively and effective when working with humans. And it's I'm using on the purpose the word humans because that's what we are, right? We work with humans on the other side, and although we leverage all this technology, we can't we can't afford to miss the human touch, the human presence every time that is possible to do it. It sounds too obvious, but as I said, the reality is that most companies are not using those five ingredients to leverage the AI and technologies in their customer support or in their customer journey.
I couldn't agree more. I think these are absolutely stellar five pillars you just shared. I would not have put it better myself, and I've wrote multiple articles on the subject. I have to say that we also see that type of things from our customer base. So, see Glassix serving about 1,000 companies at this point, from large enterprises to small enterprises. The urge to implement AI is increasingly growing every single day. I think that you've touched, well, all the points are very much important, as I mentioned, but I think that the few points you've touched that really, move the needle for companies that we work for is the emphasis on the customer experience alongside the employee experience. So we also called it CX and EX, right?
Yeah.
Um, the other point was about the AI chatbots on the website, which seems very vague and popular nowadays. But I think you know even better than me that a lot of companies do have those chatbots. They do implement it on the website, but they didn't really took the extra step to make the chatbot to be human-like, to be more helpful, to be more empathetic. And I think this is a very important point. And yeah, I mean, the fact that you already have experienced success in implementing AI, well, AI is pretty broad term,
Broad,
but
yeah.
yeah, but implementing AI in different organization really emphasizes the fact that it's not just the enterprises who needs it today. It's also the mid-size and the small-size businesses that are craving for implementing AI in their daily operations.
Yeah, let me give you one example concrete to a small shop or a restaurant. You can have a chatbot in the WhatsApp message to say if you have reservation available or not for today or a specific day or time that they asks you. You don't need to be the restaurant owner and be answering to each message, or at least the basics one. Are you open today? Yes or not? It's a holiday. What's your time differs from yesterday? So these are simple examples that you can leverage AI to support you and to reach out to more customers, increase than normally you would do if you answered them all one by one.
Yeah, I love the restaurant example. Um, so basically, Ricardo, you've helped organizations redesign processes and tools to adapt to new operating models. Can you share an example where AI played a crucial role in this transformation?
Well, let me try to give one or two examples where I think we leverage that. Having access to the information is crucial, especially when you are picking up a phone and you need to understand who is on the other side. And if you look at tools as supporting tools, they typically have the basic information about your customer, right? You know what account it is. You try to identify the person on the other side. Um, what stages are typically in the customer support agent role. It needs to understand, is this a critical account or not? Is this do this customer has premium access or not? So those type of information any system will provide you. What most systems don't provide you, where AI has been placing a role or can play a role here, is when we introduce the typical approaches that those customers would have, intelligent, like collectively having not just the AI, but also the machine learning on understanding all the interactions that you have. Like if you get on a support customer with multiple agents and multiple customers from the same company and collect all this information and provide and help the support agent to provide a cohesive answer, it is something that can help it here. But let me share the second one, which is um, mixing. It was an online school, so an online academy. The students were interacting, and we've identified that commonly on the third exercise they would drop, and the reason, and then we had to analyze why, right? And what we did was we did research. We identified that the exercise was too long and too difficult at the beginning of the course. So first finding, it's great. You spot on, but what can you do? So we leverage a chatbot and try to gamify it on that chatbot, very personalized, knowing who you are, all the information, and create the messages in a sense that you were speaking with your buddy, with your course buddy. So AI helped us here to make it more interactive with the platform, with the online learning platform, and improving the retention of the students along the course. So it's really important that you understand that this conversation needs to be so powerful, although it's an automatic one, but it requires to be so powerful that actually it reduce 50% of the churn rate for the students, the drop rates for the students in the third exercise, and improve the online experience for them. So this is really, really important for us. It was a cool scenario to do this.
I think it's an amazing example, and the numbers are staggering. I mean, 50% reduce of churn.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. The other thing is, I think the vertical you picked is in much need. I mean, we see an increasing demand in higher ed or education or online schools that looking for AI chatbot solutions. And I think that the way you kind of showcased how you use the AI chatbot to not just eliminate the churn, the pain point in that matter, but also to kind of predict it and to avoid it from happening. I think it's one of the best examples that I've heard in a while. So kudos to you and your company.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Ricardo, given your experience across different industries and growth stages, what are some common customer experience challenges you see, and how do you address them using technology? I mean, if there were like three main repetitive biggest pains and challenges that you see at every company you work with, what are they, and how do you use your knowledge and the available technology to actually address them?
Well, yeah, let me start from there. How do I start when I'm interact with a new project with a new customer on my advisory and consultancy business? What I do is, like, I typically go step by step as if I was a customer or an evaluation. A lot of times, to become a customer, you have to do evaluation of the product, for example. How do you evaluate that experience? One of the things you mentioned like 3 or 4 minutes ago in our conversation, which is you create a chatbot that it's not, you don't have a personalized conversation, or sometimes it is, but then you jump to a phone call and it's completely the opposite. You know, that is, I would say, the top challenge that companies face today is creating inconsistency customer journeys across the multiple channels that they have. Or you go to Facebook and you during these evaluations, typically I go to Facebook or Instagram and I send message through social to see if the you're going to go on a ping pong game on, oh, sorry, this is not the right channel. You need to contact support at blah, blah, blah.com. You know, that's, and I'm not referencing blah, blah, blah as a company. Honestly, I don't know if it is or not. Let me do that disclaimer. But the thing is, it's very common that there's customers navigate through touch points on the website, phone, and the experience feels disjointed. Sometimes they have a great phone experience, but awful in the
So it's kind
website.
of a
Sometimes
kind
it,
of unified experience combined with omni-channel support, I believe.
yeah, definitely, and that's the tech solution. Typically this allows the omni-channel platform that unifies the customer data across channels. You bring in the same experience. This allows consistency, um, allows personalized offers, regardless if you're calling or if you're using the mobile app for that brand. And it's also internally going back to the experienced employee that we spoke about it. It creates a seamless handoff between, okay, you came from the website, I saw that you clicked on these 3 products, this is the information you're trying to get based on the search you did, so let me jump on the conversation and eventually start like, well, I know what you did last summer. Here's probably what you're looking for. This can be scary if you treat it this way, but you can make a conversation. If you can start, hey, what brings you up to today, and you ask your customer, you validate that the customer it's what she or he is looking for, and then you continue that. So the second thing that sorry for this engineering brain that splits everything by steps or
No,
frameworks
no,
and try to put
we love a good structural.
and try to put this while I'm one of the things while I evaluate a lot, not just as a customer, also as a consultant, is the long waiting times and efficient support. um, One of the let me give you a great example. It was with Asana. Awesome experience. I started with a chat box, with a chat box, um, trying to ask, getting all my user, because my company changed the domain. The company I was working for changed the domain, and I was trying to get access to my previous boards with the new login domain. And I went to the chatbot. It answered twice. I said, "Look, you're not getting. This is not what I need. What I need is that." Immediately, a support agent jumps to the same conversation I was having with a chatbot. It introduced himself. "I am Ron. I'm here for Asana. I see you're having troubles with this. I've looked at the answer the chatbot gave you. I just need the confirmation message from your email, and he provide me the steps to change it, to make it possible." That was in less than 25 minutes. I solved the questions. And I'm saying 25 minutes because you're reaching out to an enterprise. I was not an enterprise customer, and you're getting premium support. In 25 minutes, you could solve the problem. First with the chatbot, seamless transitions to the chat with a human, and it was solved. So this is really, really important for me, because I started that experience saying, well, it's going to take me 3 days to change this. And it took me 25 minutes. Eventually, it will take me in the future, if Asana continues working on that, it will take me like 2 minutes to solve that question. So long waiting times and efficient support is really, really things where AI powered tools can automate repetitive tasks, freeing up agents to focus on real valuable interactions with human. And the third one is an unclear measurement and improvement strategies. And this is a hot topic. Companies are nowadays, they're always talking about metrics, KPIs, but there are a lack. Most of the companies I see, they lack a clear metrics to gauge the customer satisfaction, and identify where we need to improve. They use the standard ones, and sometimes the standard ones are not the ones you need because your business is unique, or you want your business to be unique. So you can't measure everything, and also you can't measure what others are simply measuring just because it's a common practices in the industry that you're talking about. And going back to again to the unclear measurement, when you start measuring, for example, when you measure customer sentimental analysis with surveys, feedback, social media, in the support emails, for example, it's really powerful to see what product features you need to improve, what product areas you're not covering, what pains your customer has that your company is not solving yet, or you don't have a partner that helps you to solve that. So it's really, really interesting, and having that all these mixed up can you can focus, going back to focus on the user friendly interfaces, a clear communication, ensuring that AI is complementing the human expertise and the human experience that you want to provide it, and not replacing it, by the way.
Yes, yes to all three examples. I think these are absolutely a standout. And I want to go back on your point, touch on your point regarding the seamless handoff, because it's very common and popular and well known in our world that if the conversation become too complex for the chatbot, it will hand it over to the next available agent, for example, or other business rule that was previously set by the business, right? But what if you could do the opposite? Let's say you start a conversation, and I'm saying this because this feature is available for Glassix users. So I'm giving food for thought for
Mm-hmm.
our listeners. Is what if you could have started a conversation with the chatbot, an AI chatbot, an FAQ chatbot, whatever chatbot that make resonates with your business, and then or even start sorry to my point, start a conversation with the live agent and say, okay,
Yeah.
well, the live agent have identified that the conversation could have been resolved with a chatbot, that the questions are repetitive. Or let's say, for example, you work for an insurance company, and then a customer requests to watch or to receive their claim policy, right? So why should they go through the million questions for verification and identification and all that with the live agent? This is very repetitive and frustrating. If the live agent recognize that, it will be able to seamlessly hand over the conversation to the bot who can handle it themselves. And then you save time, you save the frustration, and you just give a better experience, a quicker experience, while freeing up your agent time. So this, for some reason, this particular use case is being neglected, has not been spoken a lot in our industry for some reason. Just
Yeah, totally agree with that, and give you another example, completely opposite, or not opposite, completely different from for other industry, which is the recruiting process for every company. I don't know how to say differently. It sucks, because you're applying to a job, always applying with the same, and applying a job, a process, it needs to be both ways. Yeah. On the other side, you could have a bot initially where you can do simple questions about who's the company, about understanding what the role is actually it is, because those will be repetitive questions that we will have along the process. And the same applies when people are asking, what's your experience? And here it goes again, my pitch, my 5 minutes pitch for the fourth time for the same company. Okay, and you go and these seamless handoffs that should exist in the backends, right? for the company, regardless if it's customer support, recruiting, whatever. Those are critical. I would say who does it well, it really creates an awesome experience. It creates loyalty, and it promotes ambassadors for the brand. Look, I mentioned Asana. I earned zero with Asana, and I don't want to, but it was a great experience for me to have it, and that's really good. One bad example, telcos. I haven't found yet a great uh, support coming from a telco company worldwide. If you know any, please share it because I would like to follow that one.
Yeah, I think that your point about the brand experience and being a brand ambassador, it's something more emotional that we feel rather than, filling up our pockets, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, I want to, your last point about KPIs and success measurement, it's really tied to my next question. So, in your role at various companies, you managed to link customer experience strategies directly with business outcomes. And I think this would be amazing for, especially for the leaders who lead call centers or even small operation teams or customer support teams that listen to us today. What metrics or indicators do you focus on to measure the success of these strategies? What are, like, let's say, two, three, even five different metrics that you always go by if you want to measure the success?
Okay, so it's a great question and not a simple answer.
I know.
And
One size.
over time, the metrics are the same, yet they have different relevances for the business, and we need to be aware of that. I think that's the first point to look at metrics is that some metric you have different levels of metrics, like more operational, more strategic ones, and not at the same time you get the same relevance for the business, depending. It's also because your value proposition differs from your competitors, or it should, right? And you might want to look at different indicators. Like a SaaS company is always looking for what is my customer churn rate, but
Right.
not all of them look for the same customer lifetime value, right? Or they look at it in a different way. It has more relevance in some scenarios than in another ones, and that's my point that I would like to. I might look differently at indicators even in the same business unit or in the same business industry, but in a different market context. So choosing it's another, I won't say $1 million question because there's some standards. I can share a few of them, but it's really based on your specific business goals, and the customer journey might be important. Let me share one or two examples. Or before I do that, there are, of course, the fundamentals, right, to run a business. And let me start from the basics. You need to measure the customer satisfaction score. And that is one part very important. People tend to forget that, especially after key moments or in a very long absence of a touch point with your customer. Like the customer comes, gets the product, buys the product, starts using or your service, and it's been like 3 months since you haven't heard about it, anything about it. You need to measure the satisfaction score at that time. And yes, it's great. We were talking about ambassadors and trying to understand how likely you would to recommend your brand. And one of the, I would say, key indicators that I like to use, and companies don't use that often, is the customer effort score. How easy it is for the customers to complete a task or to resolve an issue, to do something with your product. That is really important because if it's easy to use, it's going to most likely to be a great feature and adopted by the users itself. I've mentioned customer churn rate, of course, and mentioned the customer lifetime value for SaaS companies. Those are really really important. And I see one which is social media sentimental becoming more common. Monitoring your mentions and understanding how users perceive or how you are perceived online is really, really important. And based on that, let me share one of the previous experience. We focus on community metrics. So it's common that the tech companies have communities, and measuring the time to answer in public forums, for example, was one of the metrics we measure. Um, we spoke about that's one of the problems, the time you get an answer. This was really, really fast. But the other, it helped us to create some strategies and some tactics to address it. First, initially, we start answering ourselves, and then we start promoting other community members to start answering to those questions because they did have the knowledge. And this way, you could extend your support, right? Instead of being like five community managers, suddenly you would have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 community members that could answer that. So that was one of the good tactics and good metrics. So first we start measuring the time to answer, then we start measuring the number of questions answered by the community, and continuously measure if the time would be less than an hour, less than 2 hours, trying to make it short. Also, in the tech community, we measure, for example, the number of components used in production environments. So we want to keep the momentum of people collaborating as an open source platform or as an open source community. But were those participations valuable? Well, if customers are using in production, then you're measuring that. That is very interesting to measure loyalty to community, usefulness, and impact in your business, of course. And that way you could measure the impact. We were measuring the impact that the community brings to business. I know that this is a hot topic for community, the community industry. It's really hard to measure what is the impact, the real impact from the community into your business. This was a way for us to do that. Still within the community, let me share a different tactic we used, and of course the metrics, because that was the question. We have an ideas board, which is a great way to get feedback about your product and to get missing features for your backlog. However, it really needs to be managed well. And the way that because feedback is a gift, and that's why it's also important to give back to the community. In that, in our case, was implementing their ideas. Having your idea implemented in the backlog, sorry, implemented in the product was really you should feel proud about that. So we used to measure not just the number of ideas, but also how many were were implemented, how many got to the product backlog, and this was really really interesting because the ideas board mixes the feedback survey with some sort of media sentimental measure, as other community members could vote on your ideas. So you could get a mix of the getting a survey: is this good or not for our product? Is this useful? Is this necessary? And at the same time, getting the votes from other community and getting that impact. Um, this is two concrete examples on how you can leverage KPIs or metrics inside the community and bring it back to your product, into your business. And by the way, this is definitely not a one-off activity. I think that's where people fail, is this requires to continuously monitoring, analyzing, and share within the company. We collect that, and we on a monthly basis we would be sharing with the company and showing the progress of those indicators that we will have. Only this way we could improve and refine our CX strategy over time.
Yeah, I think that the fact that you have portrayed an example about community and highlighted the importance of community and how do you measure metrics within the community, I think it's a very interesting, wouldn't say controversial, but I would say definitely unique approach to measuring CX activities within an organization. I think it's big, and I've learned something new, and I think I'll speak on behalf of a lot of our listeners as well, that if you look at it on a community perspective, on a community level, and you understand the metrics and what you need to look at and what you need to go after, it changes your entire perspective on how you drive CX transformation within the organization. Huge, really. I love that point. Um, Ricardo, you advocate for crafting tailored solutions rather than applying a one size fits all approach. And that's kind of what you have discussed previously, that it's not one size fits all, and every organization have its own unique needs and unique goals and perspectives and KPIs to be measured. So how does this philosophy influence your use of AI and machine learning in enhancing customer interactions?
Yeah, so let me start sharing that my belief in tailored solutions comes from my engineering background. I started as a custom software developer and participated for 13 years in the growth of OutSystems. OutSystems is a leading AI-powered low-code platform for complex and business critical applications. And complex and business critical typically means unique, right? You want to be different from your competition, especially if you want to be a market leader. And what I see is that that's how I got influence over time and how I view AI and machine learning for the customer interactions. Uh, about the art of crafting those unique solutions. I'll try to put this in a three steps framework. Being, you have to understand the nuances of your business and your customers. You have to leverage the AI for personalization, and we spoke about it earlier in this episode. And you have to focus on the human in the loop approach. And let me share a bit about explaining how am I thinking on this. Well, understanding the nuances, it's where usually also I start when I'm working with companies. So I start to understand their customer base, understanding that different industries and different company size have unique customer profiles. This is really important. Understanding to who are you speaking to, understanding if you're, or let me go back to the tech company. Are you targeting enterprise customers? Are you targeting mid-sized companies, or are you targeting freelancers? And it's a complete in understanding those nuances. When it's the same product, sometimes you have different features for the different audiences, but understanding, like, to whom are you talking about? What are the pains that each target or each customer segment has? It's really, really important. And you should tailor your customer journey. It's going to be very different across industries, and sometimes even inside the same industry. As I mentioned, the customer journey for a freelancer is completely different for the enterprise customer. It's a different decision process. It's the decision, a different value proposition.
You mean
You
it's
might
like
have the same
lighter,
product.
it's lighter, it has less friction, it has less touch points. It's just completely different. It's like you work for two
Yeah,
different companies.
for the freelancer, it might be more
Serve.
self
Mhm.
guided experience or self service experience. You can start with an enterprise customer. You can start also with the self service, self guided, up to a point where now it's above my pay grade to decide if we are buying it or not, if we are subscribing this product or not. So I had to call the IT manager or whatever. The decision changed hands. That means now you have to start talking with the sales account manager. So the process itself is completely different. The freelancer uses, wow, this is what I need, these answers, let me check my pricing. And I've seen all. I don't want to talk with a sales account. I've seen it all. I pass my credit card and start using that product. So it's simpler, but at the same time, you have to simplify your message, your website, the customer experience with all the touch points, most probably all of them virtual. Eventually, you want to reach out to see if the support is good or not, and the time to answer, if you find the answer if you're looking for. So it's really, really understanding these nuances. It's critical to go to the step two, which is the personalization, leveraging AI and machine learning. Using machine learning for segmentation, the algorithms can actually segment your customers based on a lot of information that some of them you have, the others you have to go to market to get it. But this allows you to tailor that interaction and recommend the next step. An extra edit here, which is if you add the natural language for the chatbots, for example, or virtual assistants, those those can be very powerful. We've mentioned that, right? The example of the students that they were having a student buddy, which was a chatbot that speaks the same language that they have. It allows them to continuous focus and overcome the exercise that they were facing the issues. So it's really, really important that you try to respond or create the AI mechanisms, responses in a natural way and very relevant for your specific customer. And the third part, which is the human in the loop approach. And this is where most companies tend to fail. Um, Companies bring AI or try to bring other technologies to several technologies to address the scalability issues that they have. But the tool will not replace the human expertise. It's a killer if you think it will replace human interaction. Instead, it actually, what AI and the tools can help us is to streamline tasks and empower our support agents with real-time customer data, with insights about the market, with insights about potential solutions, and in this way drive a personalized and efficient support. So this is really, really, for me, it's key, and it's a killer when you think you bring in technology, but technology is not speaking the same language that your customers is. And lastly, the flexibility that when you have when you select something, we talk about um, customizing the solution for your industry and following the best practices and ensuring that you have a custom solution to provide to your customers. It's, I would say, key to AI complement the natural workflows and customer touch points that you already have in the customer journey. So really, really interesting to see the upcoming months where everybody is talking about AI. Everybody's been talking about AI over the last year or so. And what does that mean in terms of benefits? And I'm here to see if we're going to have an improved customer satisfaction overall, and also if these will increase or not the sales and the conversations that happens online. And I would like to just to close this to this question, which is enhancing the agent productivity. I'm betting if we use AI automation and remove a lot of repetitive tasks for the teams and getting the support agents doing what they are good, which is interacting with other humans, I'm betting that they will be happier and companies will start having less issues with the employability happiness that they have.
Yeah, I think that all of these points are actually glorious. What we see here is, and couldn't agree more with you, it's no secret. Everyone talks about AI, everyone wants to deploy AI within their operations, within their companies. But there is a big gap. I mean, from the moment that you know you want to have AI to the moment you understand that you really need to work alongside with it to make it a success story within your company. And here's what I mean. We see small enterprises, medium sized, even larger organizations that want to deploy AI chatbots or want to deploy some other AI features that we provide here in Glassix, but they do not understand the amount of resources and the fact that they need an actual team or at least a few team members to operate it and make it successful. So, for example, you need to be able to nurture and add more keywords or phrases to your database for your AI, for your machine learning, from your natural language processing algorithms to work better with time, right? Um, but I think that there is a urge to embrace AI, to utilize AI within companies. But then on the other hand, there is a misunderstanding that the moment I do that, yeah, I pay you this amount of money and you give me this kind of service, and this is where it ends. It's not like that. It's a continuous progress, it's a continuous process that has to be well developed by the organization. And I think that as a consultant and
Yeah.
person that work with so many different types of companies, you can agree with that.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, this is an ongoing and continuous work that needs to be done by organizations. We need to understand that AI is bringing us new tools to work with, and that's good. That's great. As we have new tools, we need to find and where can I use this? How can I leverage this knowledge within my company to grow? If that's the point, right? If the point is to grow and keep growing, how can I leverage this? Now you can go faster or slower. Typically, leveraging these tools, you grow faster if you do it properly, and that's the advice. And doing properly means failing fast, learning, implementing the second version, failing fast, learn, implementing the third version. But remember to have some winnings along the process. Otherwise, if you keep failing, that doesn't mean you're growing, right? That just means you're trying. So it's really this balance of let's bring in, test it, what worked, what not, what have we learned, implement it. Let's go. Second thing, don't try to bring it all in the same place, and especially if you don't have the basics we spoke about it in the episode.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Ricardo, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. For our listeners, if you want to have more takes and insights about customer experience and AI, I urge you to follow Ricardo on his LinkedIn profile. Ricardo, thanks again for joining us today.
Welcome. It was a pleasure for me, and thank you for listening.